So the last few days of Dungeons & Dragons news have been incredibly exciting, and over the last week of Legend lore, as it's being known, we've been getting new information every single day, and there's always something new to look forward to. On Tuesday, we received a brand new Unearthed Arcana, which for those of you that don't know, is essentially kind of like a beta test of new features or new ideas that are going to be incorporated into Dungeons & Dragons in the future. What we received was a whole set of subclasses, which are very different than any subclasses we've received in the past before, and I will get to that in a minute. It's called the Mages of Strixhaven. We know this is part of the Dungeons & Dragons and Magic the Gathering sort of crossover that's going to be taking place, and has been sort of taking place before with the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, the Mythic Odysseys of Theros, so there have been a couple entrance into this crossover field before, but we know in November of this year we are going to be receiving the Curriculum of Chaos, which is another Dungeons & Dragons Magic the Gathering crossover adventure, and there's going to be some new subclasses that are going to be printed in it. So we're going to take a look at that. Before we do get into it, if you haven't already, please do consider subscribing to the channel. It sincerely helps. I appreciate every single one, and it really lets me know what kind of content and information you guys are interested in, looking forward to seeing. But otherwise, let's get into it. So as I mentioned, the Unearthed Arcana we have received is a whole set of subclasses that are the Mages of Strixhaven. They are all magic-based, and the really interesting thing about these is that they are actually subclasses that apply for multiple different classes. So typically you would have, as a wizard, you'll have your arcane traditions, or as a bard, you'll have your colleges, and you can't really mix between them. Like, it just kind of is what it is, and that's the end of it. But with these subclasses, you could actually, you could have a bard that is part of one of these subclasses, but you could also have a wizard that's part of the same subclass, or even a druid. There's a lot of overlap here, and it's actually really cool. It's really exciting and creates a little bit more diversity of class, so you can actually see a completely different way that one class might interpret these subclasses over another one. So it's nothing like we've ever seen before in D&D. So it's really kind of exciting to take a quick look at it. So if we take a look at the beginning here, they are known as the Colleges of Strixhaven. Again, this is not to be confused with Bard colleges, though a Bard could take one of these, and some of them do apply to Bard, but the Colleges of Strixhaven is really more of a lore or thematic kind of title. So there are 5 Colleges of Strixhaven which are available to be chosen from. So let's take a look at each one of them here. So something that is important to note is, as each of these colleges apply to multiple different classes, not every class does get their features at the same time. Sometimes, a bard might get one later, a wizard might get one earlier. So you have to look at the specific level requirements that it says. So each feature that's listed under each of the colleges will have a level requirement that will say level 6+, for example. So if you only get a feature, if you get a class feature at level 5, you're not eligible to take it. And if you don't get another feature until level 10 or whatever, you can, at that point, you can take the 6+ feature, as well as maybe if there's another one at level 10, you could choose either one of those. You do not get both. You would have to choose between the two that are available to you at the same time. Alright, so we're going to jump into it with the Mage of Lorehold. We are going to skip the blurb and with the flavor at the beginning. We kind of just want to get a good idea of what these classes actually have to offer. So let's take a look at our first level 1+ feature. It starts with Lorehold spell, so it's great. We do get an expanded spell list. You learn the cantrip Sacred Flame, as well as Comprehend Languages. Comprehend Languages can be pretty clutch in very specific instances, but Sacred Flame is always a nice pickup no matter what. You learn additional spells when you reach the level. That's great. It's good to know that if you're a wizard, you can add these to your spell book without actually expending any of the gold or the time resources on it, which is always awesome. So let's see the spells. 3rd level, we get Knock, Locate Object. 5th, we get Speak with the Dead. And Spirit Guardians. Spirit Guardians is amazing. Is an amazing spell. Speak with the Dead, I have seen come really, really clutch in a couple of campaigns. It's a really awesome spell. I love the flavor of it. 7th, we get Arcane Eye and Stone Shape, some nice pickups, and 9th, we get Destruction Wave and Legend Lore. Very flavorful, I like it. Not necessarily the best expanded spell list, but you can't complain, it's nice. They're nice pickups. Alright, now let's take a look at the first sort of real feature, I guess. So we get Ancient Companion level 1+. Says you learn to call on the spirits of ancient dead and house them temporarily in the remnants of old statues so that they remain so they may remain longer on this plane to bolster your studies and aid you in battle. Whenever you finish a short or a long rest, you can call forth on the bond with one such spirit, who comes to inhabit a medium freestanding statue within 10 feet of you and serve as your ancient companion. See their game statistics, companion stat block, which is your proficiency bonus in several places. When you bond with your ancient companion, choose the type of spirit that you want to bond with: a healer, sage, or warrior. Your choice of spirit determines the certain traits in its stat block. The statue determines the spirit's appearance itself. The ancient companion is friendly to you and your companions and obeys your commands. In combat, the companion shares your initiative count, but it takes its turn immediately after yours. It can move and use its reaction on its own, but the only action it takes on its turn is the dodge action, unless you take a bonus action on your turn to command it to take another action. The action can be used. The action can be one of its from its stat block or some other action. If you're incapacitated, the companion can take any action of its choice, not just dodge. As an action, you can touch the ancient companion and expend a spell slot of first level or higher. The ancient companion regains a number of hit points equal to 10 times the level of the spell slot expended. The companion perishes when it drops to 0 hit points, when you bond with the new ancient companion, or at the end of a short or long rest, or when you die. When the companion perishes, the spirit returns to its plane of origin, and the statue becomes an inert object. Alright, so there's a lot to take in there. So essentially, you have this inanimate object, which you can then sort of imbue with some kind of a life force to be able to be your companion in battle, and it kind of follows you around, and it gives you specific bonuses. You're able to heal it by expending spell slots on it, which is really cool. You get 10 times the spell level slot that you expend. So even a first level spell slot, that's 10 hit points. 5th level spell slot is a lot, but you're getting 50 hit points back, which can be really, really worthwhile, I guess, depending on which one you choose and what kind of features you're looking for. All right, let's take a quick look at the actual Ancient Companion stat block. So its AC is 14. It's got natural armor +2, so if you take the warrior one, it gets a 16 AC, not bad. Hit points is 5 plus 5 times your level in the class. The companion has a number of hit dice, the 8 equal to your level in this class. So that's, again, pretty nice. Pretty reasonable starting hit points. So we're even starting at at level 1. It's already got 10 HP. That's more than most adventuring classes would have, even at first level. So not too bad. If you look at some of the modifiers, +2, -1, +2, +2, +2, +0. Yeah, honestly, there's nothing really to complain about here. Skills, history is +2, plus your proficiency bonus. Interesting. So it did mention before, some of it does take advantage of your own proficiency bonus, including here in the saving throws. Con save is +2 plus your proficiency bonus. Even at first level, it's +4 on con save. Not bad. Intelligence +4 as well. Wisdom would also be +4. It's like, honestly, it's really not bad. It's immune to poison, immune to charmed and being exhausted. Passive perception is 12 plus your proficiency bonus +2. So it's actually at minimum we're looking at a 16 passive perception. It's really not bad at all. Alright, let's take a look at some of the actual features that it has. Ancient Fortitude. If damage reduces its companion to 0 hit points, it can make a con save. DC 5 plus the damage taken. On a success, it drops to 1 hit point instead. Cool. So it's a great way of kind of keeping it up, keeping it alive, without having to sort of recast or reuse that ability, which is nice. The Sage's cancels if you take the Sage version of it. While within 15 feet of the companion, you and your allies gain a +2 to intelligence and wisdom checks. Very importantly, not saving throws, but intelligence and wisdom checks. But honestly, not so bad. Wisdom and intelligence checks are some of the most common in the game. We think of like perception or investigation, insight. So there's a lot of wisdom and intelligence checks that happen, and just getting that small +2 can be really, really really beneficial, especially how common they are. Let's look at some of the actions we have. We have Spirit Strike. Make a melee attack. Your spell attack modifier to hit +5. Cool. 1d8 +2 plus proficiency bonus for damage. Interesting that it adds proficiency bonus to damage. That's kind of cool. Healer's Light. This again only applies if you take the healer version of it. The companion chooses a creature it can see within 15 feet of it and flares with invigorating light. The creature gains 1d8 plus your proficiency bonus temporary hit points. Awesome. Again, important to remember that temporary hit points don't stack, but still really, really awesome, like amount of bonus sort of healing. As a reaction, I guess one if you take the warrior. When a creature within 5 feet of the companion makes a strength or dexterity saving throw, the companion imposes itself between the creature and the danger. The creature can roll a d4 and add the number to this rolled on the saving throw. That's really cool. That's kind of like a budget bardic inspiration that you can use potentially every round, since it's as a reaction. So it's less limited in a sense than bardic inspiration dice. It's kind of like I guess more like a guidance cantrip that could potentially be cast every round. Overall, this is a really cool feature. This is significant. This could have a potentially significant impact on the game, even at first level. It's almost like having an extra party member. Obviously, there are some limitations to it. What is its speed? It's got 30 feet of speed. So honestly, this is a great feature at first level. This can have huge impacts. And especially its Mage of Lorehold is available to Bard, Warlock, and Wizard. So this is a pretty big deal. All right, next up is Lessons of the Past. This is for level 6+. So when you get this feature, you can actually, you gain some of the benefits almost of the Ancient Companion that you choose. So if you take the healer, it says your hit point maximum is increased by amount equal to your level in this class, and you gain the same number of hit points. When you regain hit points from a spell, you can regain an additional 1d8. That can be super handy, depending on the type of spellcaster you are, or even if someone else casts a spell on you, actually, when you regain hit points from a spell, you regain an additional 1d8. So no matter who casts a spell on you, you're able to get the benefit from that. You get an additional 1d8. Also, your hit points are increasing for wizards whose hit dice is 1d6. That can be huge. If you pick the Sage, you have advantage on ability checks using the Arcana, History, Nature, and Religion skills. Additionally, once per turn, when you deal damage to a creature with a spell slot of first level or higher, you can deal an additional 1d8 force damage to that creature. Wow, so force damage is always awesome, because since there's so few creatures that are actually resistant or immune to it, force damage is amazing. Whenever you damage a creature with this, and it's just free damage. You're spending your first level spell, you get an additional 1d8 force damage, and you have advantage on Arcana, History, Nature, and Religion checks. Admittedly, those are not necessarily the most common. I guess it does more depend on your campaign, but that's awesome. Whenever you bond with a new Ancient Companion, or you immediately lose the benefits and you gain the new one. Okay, cool. Makes sense. Next up, it says War Echoes, level 10. This is a Mage of Lorehold feature as well. By pulling on the magic from the past, you can cause your opponent's old wounds to resonate anew. Once per turn, when a creature you can see hits a target with an attack roll, you can use a reaction to force the target to make a Wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failure, the target becomes vulnerable to one of the damage types dealt by the attack. This vulnerability lasts until the end of the target's next turn and affects the damage dealt by the triggering attack. You can use your reaction in this way a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. That's cool. So being able to give a creature vulnerability to any specific type of damage, especially if you know that you have one of your party members who's going to be queuing up like a fireball, giving them vulnerability to fire damage, or even if you have a barbarian coming up, giving them vulnerability to their slashing or to their bludgeoning damage that's about to kind of wreak havoc on them. And it lasts for the entire round, because it lasts until the end of the creature's next turn. And even at first level, you can do this twice. That's awesome. That's an incredibly powerful ability. Last up, we have level 14 feature, History's Whims. Through steeping yourself in the dark, chaotic whims of history, you learn how to briefly channel the wild nature of time itself. As a bonus action, you can enter a state of chronal chaos. When you enter this state at the start of each of your subsequent turns while in this state, you gain one of the following benefits of your choice. Luck. You receive brief flashes of the future, steeling yourself against oncoming assaults. Whenever you make a saving throw against an effect that deals damage, you can roll a d6 and add the number rolled to the total. Resistance, you rewind time, knitting together injuries as they occur. You have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. And swiftness, time stutters, slowing others but hurtling you forward. Your movement speed increases by 15 feet and you do not provoke opportunity attacks. The benefit lasts until the start of your next turn. You cannot choose the same benefits 2 rounds in a row. The state lasts for 1 minute and ends early if you're incapacitated. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest, unless you expend a spell slot of 4th level or higher to use it again. Really cool that you get an actual mechanical way of doing it again, but it does cost you something fairly significant. You have to spend a 4th level spell to be able to actually do it. I mean, as a wizard, maybe with Arcane Recovery, it's not the worst thing, but this is really cool. This is some really powerful stuff. Being able to add a d6 to a hit dice, being able to become resistant to damage, especially if you get a good handle on the types of damage that are going to be incoming from a particular type of creature, being able to know you can get away in a particular instant if you need to, increasing your movement speed by 15 and not provoking opportunity attacks. This is a really, really great feature. All right, moving on to the next one, we have the Mage of the Prismari. This is for Druid, Sorcerer, and Wizard as well. So again, we are going to kind of skip over the flavor for the class, but everything else more or less is the same. It replaces your subclass. So let's take a look at first level, level 1+, creative skills, Major Prismari. You gain proficiency in 2 of the following skills of your choice: acrobatics, athletics, nature, or performance. That's always handy. Getting additional proficiency in 2 skills of your choice, never going to complain about that, especially in things that you might not necessarily get typically with those classes. Performance can be really clutch. Athletics, you probably wouldn't do, but I guess it really depends on the character you're going for. Next up, we have Kinetic Artistry. You can dash as a bonus action. When you take this bonus action, choose one of the following additional effects. A Boreal Sweep. Icy water swirls around you. Until the end of your turn, you can move across the surface of water as if it was harmless, solid ground. Additionally, when you leave a space within 5 feet of a creature, you can force that creature to make a strength saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failed save, the creature is knocked prone. A creature can be affected by the water only once each turn. So that's kind of cool. You're kind of just like, you need to immediately get out of somewhere. You can now walk on water and potentially just kind of like blast any creatures out of your way and knock them over on the way out. Pretty cool stuff. Scorching Whirl. Flames wreathe your steps. Once before the end of your turn, you can force each creature within 5 feet of you to make a dexterity saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failure, the creature takes fire damage equal to 1d4 plus your spellcasting modifier. Just a nice little bonus of damage, and potentially a small little AoE that you can take effect. Pretty nice. Thunderlight Jaunt. You take on a nimble lightning form. Until the end of your turn, you can move through the space of other creatures, and you do not provoke opportunity attacks. If you end your turn inside a creature space, you are pushed to the nearest unoccupied space. You can use a bonus action in this way a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. The Thunderlight Jaunt's pretty cool. Being able to actually pass through spaces of hostile creatures can be really, really helpful in particular instances if you need to get away. Again, being potentially more squishy classes like a wizard or sorcerer, having that kind of an opportunity to be able to get away is pretty great. Next up, from level 6+, you have Favored Medium. You have honed your forms of elemental expression to best suit your ideas. Choose one of the following damage types: cold, fire, or lightning. You gain resistance to that damage type. Additionally, when you cast a spell using a spell that deals that type of damage chosen, you emit a spectacular aura of artistry, which extends 5 feet from you in every direction, but not through total cover, and lasts until the end of your next turn. While the aura is active, each creature of your choice has resistance to your chosen damage type while within the aura. As you shape your favored elemental medium around them, you can change the damage type of your choice whenever you finish a long rest. That's just really awesome, being able to have, not only do you get resistance to any of these features, but any ally who's kind of right next to you also does as well. It's a smaller aura, but really, really powerful. Level 10+, we get Focused Expression. Honing your talents, you skillfully infuse your motions with even more potent expressions of elemental might. Once per turn, when you deal damage to at least one target, you gain an additional effect determined by the damage type chosen from the Favored Medium feature. So if you take Cold, one of the targets of your choice takes an additional 1d6 cold damage and must make a con save. If they fail, their speed is reduced by 10 feet until the end of its next turn. A target can be affected by this only once per round. Then there's Fire. One of the targets of your choice takes an additional 1d6 fire damage. Fortifying Flames then dance around another creature of your choice within 30 feet of you. The chosen creature gains 1d6 temporary hit points. So that's kind of cool. You can actually affect 2 separate things. So you can actually deal an additional 1d6 fire damage to an enemy, but then you can also potentially heal for an ally for 1d6 temporary hit points. And lastly, we have Lightning. One of the targets of your choice takes an additional 1d6 lightning damage and must make a dexterity saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failed, is unable to take reactions until the end of its next turn as residual lightning shocks are formed. That can be really helpful in very particular situations when you need to prevent an ally from maybe taking damage or being able to get away in case of opportunity attacks, or if you know there's a spellcaster who might be risking casting a counterspell to be able to prevent that from happening. That can be incredibly beneficial. Last up, we have Impeccable Physicality. This is level 14+. Your relentless dedication and training have instilled an outstanding sense of precision and grace to your art. You gain proficiency in dexterity throws if you do not already have it. Additionally, when you make a dexterity saving throw, you can treat a roll of a d20 of a 9 or lower as a 10. It's kind of like a budget reliable talent for Rogue. This is not the greatest feature, I'll be honest, because you gain proficiency in dex saves if you don't already have it, and if you do, you don't actually get anything else. They don't allow you a substitute. So at level 14, that's a bit disappointing, I'd say. But when you make a dex save, you control a 9 or lower as a 10. Again, yeah, it's very, very specific. That's why it's kind of like a budget reliable talent. But overall, I'd say that that's okay. Not the best. So overall, that's it. That's a quick look at the Mages of Strixhaven Unearthed Arcana. I do hope you enjoyed this video. I know we didn't go too in-depth to it because there are likely to be some changes before this is actually released in Curriculum of Chaos later this year. If you did like this video, please like and remember to subscribe to the channel to see more of anything else that's coming up this week or into the future. And please leave a comment below. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know which one of these subclasses you're most excited about. But other than that, take care.